gotta get the Google Meet. Google Meet. Here we go. I'm getting there. Join. Yes. No, I don't want to do it for later. I want to do it for now. Do for now. Do for now. Do for now. See here. Add others. Okay. Let's see here. Damn it. Alright, guys. We're working on it. I'm waiting for everybody else to show up, so, yeah. Okay. There's another. Can you hear me? Can I hear you? Hang on. I ain't got no freaking sound. I gotta find my freaking device.
Connected.
Oh my gosh.
Hello.
Back then, I couldn't tell you.
It's like every WrestleMania for like 20
Say
years.
anything?
He was
You
main
hear us?
eventing it.
Kinda.
I don't
Kinda.
know if it was for that.
No, it wasn't. I'm just stupid
Yeah,
numbering.
Can
you hear me all right?
Got something playing in the background.
Back then, he was popular.
Yeah,
Is
not
that you,
anymore.
Richard, making noises
No.
as I was talking? Or is
No.
that doing something?
But
I don't.
yeah,
I hear something that sounds like a TV.
it's.
Yeah, I don't.
we
I'm
got
in a room
dealing
with no
dogs
TV.
down here now too.
It sounds like one
A
of
what?
our recordings.
A daily dog.
I don't know. It's one of our recordings, and I don't know where the freak it's coming from.
Really?
The one that always makes.
There. Stop. It was that stupid thing. Oh, good Lord.
One of them days, ain't it?
Yes, I'm not in a good mood.
Whew, yeah.
Oh. Freaking
How's everybody doing?
eh.
Well, I'm sure my blood pressure's up.
Yeah, it's a shame about your phone.
I'm using it, but I can only use it with internet access.
Yeah,
Which is so
this thing's
stupid.
I hate technology.
Sometimes.
My issues all the time.
Just one question. Who's picking the next topic and what are we doing?
Your
That's
turn.
My turn?
Your turn. We'll make it your turn. Because I did the Yuba County 5. Richard's doing this one. It's your turn.
Okay, I wanna do the Brushy Mountain Penitentiary, and it's out of Kentucky. It's supposed to be really haunted. A lot of prisoners died there because they made them run the coal mines, and it's also known as the Gates of Hell.
Nice. Let's go to hell then. Y'all got the storms, and we're about to get them.
Oh man, it was terrible. it hit us right before I got off the interstate at Pottsville, and we had to slow down to like 40 mile an hour and turn on my flashers. Just, I mean, it was hard in hell to see. The wind was blowing us, trying to blow us across the road.
I had that crap happen to me coming out of Amarillo one time. It was so bad I could barely see the front end of my vehicle. It was like I was doing 15 on the interstate, hoping nobody killed me.
Right?
I was like, I don't want to stop and somebody run into me, but I don't want to run into anybody else.
Well, we was lucky, you know, 'cause it hit real hard right as we was getting off the interstate. So thank God I was off of there.
Yeah. Hey, hey Richard, are you getting that little static sound coming from Craig's mic when he talks?
A little bit. When you get louder, it gets a little staticky.
It'll
Okay.
occasionally go.
Let me try something here.
I was just wondering if it was on my end or not.
No, it's on both
Hey,
ways.
how's that, guys?
No, it's when you go up in volume, you hear the staticky.
Oh, on my voice?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I mean, I turned my volume down a little bit.
See, when you talk at that level, you sound good.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get really loud and excited, it's like.
I'll try not to. All right, we about ready to start it, or?
Hold on, give myself another rundown of this stuff.
Yeah, go to that website I shared with you.
All right. Well, so do I. I've got everything here. I'm just reading up on it.
That website even has 288 recent sightings listed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want me to, I've got a really good start on the story. If you want me to start it off, I can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. Let me make sure my recording stuff is actually recording. Check.
Okay.
Sean, say something.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, let me stop. Okay, I've got to get me a new mic sometime that works on this damn thing.
Maybe that's what I need to do too.
Yeah, I give you a little mic that'll work better.
Mic like yours or what?
Similar. This is a USB mic.
I mean, I got a mic to plug into my PlayStation.
Yeah, but if it has an actual jack to it, it'll work on your phone or tablet or whatever you're using too.
Yeah, it plugs into my controller.
Yeah, we'll deal with it later though.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, you about ready to start?
Are we gonna try that other intro, or are we gonna just go like we've been going?
Well, Craig kind of wanted to start us off. He has a little story, so I figure we let him go ahead.
Well, I think he was talking about, you know, how that long intro that we got on our videos.
Yeah, I haven't recorded anything yet because of this. I'm kind of reticent to record anything currently with this crap.
Okay, I mean, we can probably deal with it, you know.
I'm going to replace all that. I just haven't had a chance to.
All right.
So if you want to do the standard thing, we can do that too.
All right, Sean, start us off here.
All right. So I'm probably gonna butcher this name when I say it, but from what I looked at, it looked pretty interesting. And I've already had a few questions when we're gonna get into more paranormal stuff. So for those who are wondering, we're about to get into some major league paranormal stuff with the Black Monk of Pontefrct. Is that right?
It's Pontefrct. You said it pretty close to the correct.
Okay, that's close enough then. And Greg, I think you said you had something, a good story to start us off with.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Okay, this poltergeist, it's a legendary poltergeist haunting that occurred in the late 1960s and early 1970s in the home of Joe and Jean Pritchard on 30 East Drive, Chesterfield Estate in England. Now, the whole thing is based off of there was apparently a monk when he was still alive that preyed on young, educated girls in the neighborhood, and he would rape them and cut off their tongues so they couldn't expose him. And it was said that he even strangled several girls. And this was back in the 16th century. And this next excerpt I'm fixing to read that is actually from the new owner of this place, and I found it very interesting. He says this haunting is said to be the most incredible poltergeist haunting of all time. Unlike the accepted version of poltergeist requiring the energy of adolescent children to create havoc only to dissipate once the child becomes an adult. Whatever resides at number 30 is still very much in the resident. For this reason, the owner recommends that A, don't visit. B, should you insist on visiting, only do it if you fully appreciate that spirits are not performing monkeys. And he also recommends that you read The Black Monk of Pontefract to discover what happened to other visitors.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
A lot of the research, or a lot of what I looked up about revolves around one family called the Pritchard family.
Yes.
I was going to throw this out there. It was I believe it's the mother Jean, father Joe, son Philip, who was age 15 at the time, and daughter Diane, who was age 12.
Yes.
And from what I was saying, a lot of the real attacks were happening to Diane at the time. And my I guess kind of my theory on Poltergeist really if you look at a lot of the Poltergeist activities revolve around young females in the age range of when they were hitting puberty. And that would be right around when Diane was at that age.
Well, I do know this. I did read something. It was probably the climatic height of activity done to Diane. You know, it says that suddenly her long hair started standing on its end, followed by her being dragged, kicking and screaming up the stairs. And it was an event that left her traumatized, and she even had visible finger marks around her throat.
I thought it was wild that they called the poltergeist Mr. Fred.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's said to appear in a black, hooded, and robed spirit whenever it does appear. So that's already creepy. So
yeah.
Oh, no doubt about it. And it even, goes so far as to say when they was performing exorcisms, their exorcisms were met with indignation. Walls would seep with holy water. Faces were slapped. People were shoved downstairs. And Fred's hands would appear from nowhere and conduct the Christian songs aimed at shooing him off. I mean, that says a lot right there.
yeah, it's creepy. I know the initial disturbances actually didn't start with Joe, Jean, or Diane. They were away on holiday, and Philip had opted to stay behind with his grandmother, Sarah. And they experienced a fine layer of chalk-like dust falling from midair, not the ceiling. Puddles of water forming in the kitchen floor without any apparent sources, and heavy chest drawers swaying violently that prompted Sarah to flee the house with Philip.
Yeah, I read about that. I meant to write it down and I didn't do it, but that's pretty interesting, no doubt about it.
Yeah, upon the family's return, the disturbances intensified, it seems like, when Diane got back in the home. Lights flickering and turning off and on by themselves, objects disappearing and reappearing in odd places, green foam oozing from taps and toilets, plants leaping out of their pots, photographs slashed, heavy furniture being thrown down the stairs, unexplained cold spots and foul odors that smelled like sulfur. Which leads me, I don't know. I mean, we'll probably get into this later in the episode. It don't really sound like a poltergeist to me. The odor smell reminds me of something else.
There's something that I've been kind of curious about that talking about it started with the son and the grandmother being there. There's a phenomenon called a tulpa, which is basically it's kind of like an imaginary friend come to life, in a way. I pulled up the definition of it. A tulpa is a being or object created in the imagination, often through visualization techniques, and considered to be sentient or to have a degree of independent existence. So, it makes me kind of wonder, because it was focused on it started while the son and grandmother were there, then intensified when the daughter came back. If there might have been a tinge of jealousy there, where the son's focusing the tulpa on the daughter. So,
Maybe.
I'm just throwing something out there that it's been on my mind. I've been thinking about.
Interesting theory right there. I mean, you never can tell. You know what I think is funny? They named this ghost Fred, or this poltergeist Fred. And you was talking about imaginary friends. Well, there's an old movie called Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah.
And it was about an imaginary friend named Fred. I was just throwing that out there. I know it don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, it's just interesting that the case really picked up and got famous in 1966 with his family. But I actually did more digging in the area. That whole area is stained in blood. It's had a violent history there. Not in the house, in the general area.
The state itself,
Yeah, the whole roughly town, I guess you could say.
really.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I can go into it.
Hey,
All right, the Pontefract Priory, which was a Cluniac monastery, was founded in 1090 by Robert de Lacy, who stood near the current site of 30 East Drive, dedicating it to St. John the Evangelist. The priory was a significant religious institution until its dissolution in 1540 during King Henry's reign. That's VII. I don't read Roman numerals very well. The priory's location, now known as Monk Hill, is steeped in history and local legend. One notable event was the execution of Thomas, Earl of Lancaster, in 1322. He was beheaded near Pontefract Castle, and his body was interred in the Priory Church. Rumors of miracles at his tomb circulated, leading to the establishment of the chantry dedicated to him in 1343.
wow, that's interesting. That's some pretty good stuff right there.
Yeah, this whole area has a traumatic past. I mean, if you think about it.
Well, they say poltergeists are, they're drawn to places that have, violence or some kind of traumatic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all know that we've got a kind of a special guest being really quiet in here right now. I'll move my camera real quick. It's my great Pyrenees. She's scared to death of storms, so she came in here to be with me to be close. But anyway.
Sure, it ain't the haunting.
It might be. I might be needing comforting.
Yeah.
I mean, this poltergeist and all, I mean, really it seemed like he was more full of mischief than anything.
Yeah.
I don't know, with the attack on the girl and the way it left hand marks on her.
Well, yeah, that part, but all up until leading to that violent part, because it talked about throwing stuff around and all this and that.
But what kind of got their story really, I guess more well known than any of the others is that there's a guy named Colin Willson who wrote a book about their encounters called Poltergeist. Then later on there was a movie made, and of course it was in quotes inspired by the book.
Yeah.
So we all know how the inspired movies go, but it's called When the Lights Went Out.
Yeah, that was inspired by these events, I believe. They just changed the family's name.
From what I was reading, there's a lot of liberties taken with that movie.
And something, the movie director bought the house. The actual movie director of that film bought the house.
And he doesn't use it as a tourist attraction or a tourist trap like you would kind of expect.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying like the Crescent Hotel in Hot Springs is not haunted. I firmly believe it is, but it's also used as a tourist trap. Not Hot Springs, Eureka Springs.
Right.
But they use it as a tourist trap. He does not. He does let paranormal investigators go in there and investigate. That is one weird thing. I don't know if they pay a fee or anything.
They probably do.
Anyway, back to the history of that area. Pontefract Castle was used for imprisonments and executions and became a death ground during the War of the Roses. The monastery itself was destroyed in 1540, and rumors of monks being executed and displaced were widespread. And it also eventually suffered the siege of Pontefrct during the English Civil War. Mass sufferings, execution, famine, death on a massive scale near the castle and surrounding lands. So that land itself probably has a lot of negative energy to it after all that.
Definitely soaked in blood.
Yeah. I mean, commoners were hung on the gallows there for, anything from theft to whatever. So,
Boy.
so if the events picked up, you have 800 years there, roughly, of war, murder, martyrdom, religious desecration, betrayal, all on that spot, roughly.
And the thing about it is, these there's still stuff going on now.
Mm-hmm.
You can, anybody that wants to, they can go to this 30eastdrive.com and you can look at all the recent sightings. They have 288 of them listed.
It's quite a few.
Yes, it is.
That's a lot, actually. Here's the thing, like, I kind of lean to it not being a poltergeist at all. I think it's something else. Kind of not on the vein of what Sean was thinking about. The scratches, the physical attacks, they have caught Latin chanting caught on EVPs during Catholic rituals and rites in the house. From what I understand, God, I even hate to use this word because it freaks me out. Demonic hauntings often mimic religious elements to mock and intimidate or weaken people psychologically. They said most human-based hauntings apparently do fade over time, or at least so I've heard. Demonic infestations, they linger and they anchor to places or objects and wait for new victims to stumble into it.
Huh.
I don't know.
I mean, could be possible,
Yeah, no, it's spooky all entirely. It's just the whole thing. It's said to be the most violent paranormal haunting in all of England for sure. I've heard of violent hauntings here in the States, but this doesn't get a lot of coverage here in the US, really.
But if you think about it, as far as other than the Native Americans, the history of the United States really doesn't go back that far.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the history in like England and all of that, England, Asia, and all of that area over there. Our basically our white history does not go back more than like the 1600s.
Roughly, yeah.
Unless you consider the Vikings, who probably got here well before that. And
the Vikings were also invading England too at one point in time.
Yes.
They had even small kingdoms at one point in time in England. I'm not sure if this is close to any of that. I'm sure it is. Because England itself is not big, but it's a land that is soaked in history and in blood, because there's been wars fought all over it from the time of the Romans onward and even earlier than that.
Right.
So who's to say that maybe something triggered this thing and it latched onto that girl?
That could be possible.
Yeah. So what do y'all got? What do y'all think of it? I mean, really?
Well, to me, I'm not going to discredit what they went through because I wasn't there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But with the book and the movie adding more to it, how do we know that some of the stuff wasn't you know made to sound a lot worse than what it actually was? If that makes
True.
sense. You know, it's like all these Conjuring movies and stuff like that. Those are based on real things, but they were uh, added to and made to be more Hollywood than what they actually were. So
That's true.
I'm kind of on the fence on whether how bad it really was
Right.
without actually talking to the people that live there.
No doubt. I mean, too bad we can't do our own investigation of that.
Book a ticket.
Right?
Can you
Couple
I
$100
don't
bucks.
know. I mean, I believe there's stuff like that out there. Um, I lived in, of course, y'all know I lived in Oklahoma there for a little bit and
I'm sorry.
kind of
Hmm.
went to the dark side for a little bit, so to speak. And what I experienced, I mean, there's stuff out there like that,
Yeah.
and I believe they're real.
And I've you know I've experienced some stuff. My I hate to say this, but my ex used to go to a what they called a pagan, some sort of pagan thing there in Little Rock, and I'm like, I went a couple times. I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I'm not gonna say that stuff like that doesn't happen, and like I said, I'm not trying to discredit what they went through. It's just
Well,
until
until a person actually experiences something like that, there's going to be doubts, no doubt about that.
Yeah. But back to the history of it, I got curious and kind of tried to compile like how many people roughly died in this area, violent death wise. Oh boy! And medieval executions, 200 to 300 plus. That's just execution of criminals. Public hangings, heresy trials, witchcraft accusations, the execution of Thomas, the Earl of Lancaster. Then you have the War of the Roses, 500 to 1,000 plus, probably more dead there. The Tudor era executions, dozens likely. The siege of Pontefract Castle, 500 to 800 deaths. That's a conservative estimate. And then the everyday gallows usage from the 1700s to the 1800s, unknown, multiple annually. So you're looking at a conservative, this is very conservative numbers, so 1,500 to 2,000 people that met a horrible end right around that radius of 30 East Drive.
Well, that's crazy.
As I said, those are very conservative numbers. Actual deaths are unrecorded, murders unmasked, and then there's unmarked graves. Forgotten executions would likely push it much higher.
And you said the actual War of the Roses?
There was battles fought in that area during the War of the Roses from 1450 to 1480.
Wow.
And it's in Yorkshire, which I believe is more central England. So if you go back even further in history, that is Vikings, Saxons. You have a whole history of violent death in that general area, which also begs the question, why do you not get more violent hauntings elsewhere in England, though?
That's a good question.
Or was it the possibility of the fact that there was a monastery there and the monks were all killed and the monastery destroyed and the priory was destroyed? Was it possible it was cursed?
Well, I mean, who's to say that it's just one ghost too? Maybe it's all the monks coming back to haunt, do a little haunting.
Or it's a combination of all that bad energy, I guess. I mean, I've heard stories like people that go to Gettysburg and stand on the battlefield at certain times will just feel that energy. Go to those old battles and you just feel the death around you, even though it happened long ago.
So
Well, they say poltergeist feed off that, right?
I guess.
we Crystal and I went there's up around Heber Springs. There's the JFK Overlook, and this past year there's a guy and his wife that went over the side there. That I mean, they literally there's no he had it out to kill them, and he I am getting to a point with this, but the overlook looks over the Red River at the dam site where the dam for Greer's Ferry and the
I think I heard about that.
and it drops down, and there's the river down below there. Well, he apparently gunned it, and he went over the edge and literally bounced off the dam. The truck hit the side of the dam on its way down. About a week or so later, Crystal and I went up there just to, we always like to go up there and everything before, and we went up there and talking about feeling an energy. There was you know how we felt that energy when we were out in the woods that day, Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah, we felt an energy. We had a chill kind of like that.
Boy.
Standing there where that happened, and it's like, there's an energy here that we need to just turn around and go. Like we didn't need to be there.
Wow.
So, I firmly believe that, if stuff like that happens in an area, especially 2,000 deaths in one area, you're going to feel an energy. And this was, the woman survived and the guy died, so that's just one death. And it made us feel that energy there. So I can't even imagine what it'd be like with the that many that many deaths in that area.
Yeah, and you take someone that's, say, what if the daughter was more sensitive to it than the rest of them?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I latched onto her. I don't know. But you take someone that's kind of sensitive to this stuff and they feel it.
Well, they say, children especially are more susceptible, because they are at that young age.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as close-minded as adults are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so to speak. And that's why, and I've seen it on videos, where a little kid is sitting there talking to something that nobody else can see, or see something, because their mind is still open to everything.
Yeah, that's freaky too. And of course, there's still ongoing activity on the estate today. What was it? I believe there, Bill Bungie purchased the estate in 2012. And
Yeah, he's the movie director.
Yeah, famous incident. The for sale sign was ripped out of the ground. No wind was present when it happened. Furniture's been caught moving on camera. Latin chanting caught on EVPs multiple times by multiple groups. And an investigator was apparently dragged towards the stairs.
Huh.
Yeah, that would be freaky.
Kind of like a girl, being dragged up the stairs.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. But they do say the visitors often leave with scratches, nightmares, and emotional disturbances when they do leave.
Boy.
And from my reading, it's actually caused several paranormal investigators to give up investigating the paranormal.
Boy.
Yeah, that's I mean, you go in as an investigator and you're expecting to deal with this stuff and experience it, and it causes you to just like, no, I'm done, man. I've had it.
Well, I guess if something was that intense, it would make you quit.
Yeah. Of course, I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that myself. Bigfoot, sure, but ghosts, I don't know about that.
Speaking of, her maybe being more sensitive or more open-minded, another little, I guess, tale I've got there. The property where I grew up we'd find arrowheads and stuff like that all over the place out there. There used to be a big Native American, I guess, population in the area, because we find arrowheads and stuff like that all the time. And this is one of them stories I really don't tell much, but we were out fixing fence, the back part of the property, and we had the barbed wire dropped low, getting stretched out and everything, so it's still sagging. We hadn't tied it up or anything on the T-post. The bull decides, hey, I want him out of the field, so he goes over the fence. And my granddad had me with the hatchet, I was about the same age as Diane, and the story was about 12, 13 years old. And I was, knocking little limbs off the trees and stuff, get him away from the fence line. Well, the bull jumped the fence, and the only time I've ever done it, I threw the hatchet, stuck it in a tree, and jumped the fence and took off after the bull. And I've never stuck a hatchet in a tree again in my life. I don't know if I could ever do it again, but I took off. I was running through the woods and going up and kind of around to get in front of the bull. And I'm running through there, and I just happened to look down. And my mind, I'm still me in my mind. But I look down, and I swear I see a loincloth and moccasins. It's like, it's like I was running, and my physical self just hit the exact same moment with a Native American running the same path.
Maybe at that time you was possessed for a second.
That's the only thing I can figure is kind of like a 10-second possession. Is like, then I turn and go this way, and it turns and goes this way. But it was the wildest thing, and I really haven't told that story to many people, but now everybody in the world is going to be like, wow, now we know something. So, anyway,
I'd like to tell about a little experience that we had. I don't know. Richard probably remembers when we used to live on Dawson Street.
Mm.
Um, Becky, my oldest daughter, her and her friend, they got to mess around with a Ouija board.
Of course they did.
Yeah. Well, Becky got to doing it by herself, which, if you read the lore on it, you're not supposed to do Ouija boards by yourself.
Shouldn't do them at all, but
Well, yeah, shouldn't do them at all, but I mean, she was doing it by herself, and she failed to close it out and say goodbye. And shortly after that, we started having some episodes where there was in her bedroom there was scratching in the closet. We was hearing voices, and I mean it was pretty bad. I mean, the sounds that was coming from that room was terrible. But anyway, we got the Ouija board and we cut it up and buried it because you're supposed to cut it up and you're supposed to bury each piece in a different spot to get rid of it. And I guess what we did helped. But there at the last, after it was buried, we literally heard something screaming from under the ground. I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, I was a part of it as well, and it was the damnedest thing you ever heard.
that's why I avoid the paranormal, because I was present. Well, not through a lot of that, but I remember one night I'm sitting in a bedroom and I have my back against the door and I hear nails on the other side of the door. I bolted out of that room faster than anyone ever saw.
Was that on Dawson Street?
That was on Dawson Street.
Oh, okay.
And you never knew that.
No, he never told me.
He's like, I'm out.
Yeah, I was.
So see, you heard it too. So I mean,
there was also moments on Dawson Street where you've heard of sleep paralysis, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had that too many times.
I've had several episodes right after all that happened of sleep paralysis where I could see something, but I could not move. And I was awake. I know I was awake. The only way I could tell is I was able to move my tongue in my mouth. And it just,
well, there was many times I felt like I wasn't alone. Especially when all of y'all were gone and I was there at the house by myself. I didn't feel like I was by myself. You feel this creepy feeling, your hair standing up on the back of your neck, and it was just the craziest feeling.
That not long after my granddad passed away, I was doing a Craig, and I was living in his. I had a little place up in his shop, and and this ain't the only time I've had it happen to me, but it wasn't long after he passed away, and I'd be laying there and I'd hear a footstep or sound like somebody moved, and talking about sleep paralysis, I never saw anything. I would hear something, and my whole body would just freeze. And it would take everything I had to wiggle a toe, to force my toe to wiggle. Then I'd get my toes wiggling. Then I'd work my ankles, work up to my knees and everything to finally get my whole body out of it. But it felt like it'd take 30 minutes to finally get out of it, and it's just
And then when you're in a panic mode on top of that, that does not make it any better. Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you also at the time, Craig, I caught an EVP while we were there.
Did you really?
It was that old flip phone. I don't know if you remember it. I had an old flip phone, which I still had it. And me and Jacob were messing around. We just like, you know what, we're gonna do like we do on they do on TV, you know, EVP. And I had it set to record, and I'm like, is anyone here? And I got an answer on it. It was very whispery. It was like, is more than one voice. I was like, I got good shit.
And you always told me that you never had any experiences like that.
I prefer to be blissfully ignorant when it comes to paranormal. I mean, I got goosebumps right now just thinking about all this shit again.
And Craig's over here going, "You little shit! You left me in that house."
Well, it was the only other paranormal incident I've ever had was actually just a couple of years ago. I was staying with my mom, and I seen I was in the bedroom. I was actually on this laptop too. And I'm sitting there playing a game, and it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I seen a figure. I had the bedroom door open, and I seen a figure go like this across the doorway, you know, straight across, really quick. It was white, you know. And at first, I'm thinking, okay, that's her roommate Tom. So I'm not thinking anything of it. Then I see him come out of the bathroom a little while later, and now, you know, has his walker. And he can't move that fast. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, that wasn't Tom. And I get up and I walk into the kitchen, and he hadn't even been in there. He'd been in the bedroom, just kind of went to the bathroom. But this is right in front of my door. And I got thinking back on it. That thing was, whatever it was translucent. I closed that door pretty good that night.
Yeah, we had. The first one I've ever seen was when I was married to my ex, and we were living in this little house next to the gas station in Enola. And I'm standing, it's dark outside, but I'm at the front door getting my work boots on. I'm kind of squatted down, tying my boots, you know. And I know she's in the bedroom. And I'm at the front door of the living room, and there's this kind of a half wall from the living room into the dining room. Then there's a doorway, and my ex, she's kind of chunky, and I'm sitting there, I'm tying my shoes. I look up, I'm like, and I see a female figure walk across that doorway. It was kind of a, you know, it's kind of see-through, but you could tell details about, and all I saw was from about the waist down, and I could tell that it was wearing a nightgown, one of them old floral-looking nightgowns, and it was a slim woman walking across the doorway there. I'm like, that's not my wife. It's see-through. I'm like, I didn't finish tying my shoes. I'm like, yep, I gotta go to work. So I walked out the door and left, and she's like, you left me there without saying anything? I'm like, I would have had to walk right past where it was to come in there. So, no, I did not.
Yeah, that's why I like to stick to what I think more physical things in nature. When I get into paranormal, I get the heebie-jeebies.
I like
Well, it's something that you don't think of. You know, you stay in the realm of reality. You know, you don't.
And here's my thing, though, with you know, ghosts and spirits like that. And I'm gonna throw out kind of a reference and a couple Bible things here real quick. King Saul, who was the predecessor to King David, he went to a sorcerer and had the spirit of, I want to say Ezekiel. I might be wrong. I'd have to look it up. But had a spirit of one of the prophets raised, And the prophet's like, why did you call me back? Leave me alone. But he had the spirit of one of the prophets raised from the dead. Then there's the time when Jesus walked on the water. And,
Right.
it's during the storm, and the apostles thought he was a ghost. He did not say, no, ghosts do not exist. He said, no, hey guys, it's me. Hey, it's not a ghost, it's me. He didn't rebuke them saying that there's no such thing as ghosts, but, so that's a couple of examples of kind of why I believe in the spirits. So,
Well, guys, we got about 7 minutes left.
So, yeah, we need to start heading out on this. Well, do you want to give a preview of what we're doing next week?
Sure.
I guess since you gave the preview last week, or last time, Richard, since this was your topic, I'll let Craig over there give the preview of what he's wanting to talk about.
Next week, we're going to cover the Brushy Mountain Penitentiary. It's in Tennessee. I made a mistake and said Kentucky last time, but it's in Tennessee. It is also known as the Gates of Hell. It was a penitentiary that they'd make the prisoners work in the coal mines, and there was thousands of prisoners that ended up dying during a collapse. But this place is supposed to be one of the most haunted penitentiaries that around. And I mean, if you dig deep, you're going to find some interesting stuff on it. But that's what we'll be covering next week.
Works for me.
Sounds
Awesome.
good.
Now, Sean, you want to give the usual?
So, if anybody wants to get a hold of us, you can email us at paranormaladventures2@gmail.com.
Hey, you got that right.
I did. Then you can look us up on Facebook at Paranormal Adventures. Then y'all have got the Arky Squatchers and all that going on, and I think that's all I've got. Unless I'm drawing a blank on something.
Okay, and everyone, please like and share and also subscribe to us. We're just common folk here. We're looking for a little help. You subscribe to us. That'll really help us out.
Alrighty, guys. That's pretty good.
I think so.
I guess we'll get on off here then.
I'm going to go ahead and edit. And she's like, I'm about to be home. I'm like, okay, good timing.
Good deal. All right. Well, see y'all later.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.